The Rock and Triple H going at it once more has set tongues wagging across the internet. The two men who defined the Attitude Era are now in a corporate tug-of-war that has fans questioning everything they see on screen and everything happening behind it. So let's get into how Dwayne Johnson and Paul Levesque ended up here, and whether The Rock is truly done with WWE. The Rock and Triple H go back to the mid-1990s. Both men arrived in WWE around the same time. One was a third-generation wrestler with bloodlines running deep in the Samoan wrestling dynasty. The other was a Connecticut blue blood who clawed his way into the business through bodybuilding and sheer determination. The two men could not be more opposite. Johnson, a former University of Miami football player, had aspirations of joining the NFL, only to fall back on professional wrestling due to his family ties in the industry. Levesque was not born into the business, but he pursued bodybuilding and pro wrestling from a young age, dreaming that he would achieve greatness in WWE. Their paths crossed the moment Rocky Maivia walked into the locker room, and it was not a warm welcome. The Rock and Triple H didn't get off to a great start in WWE. When a rookie Rocky Maivia was trying to make it, Triple H and Shawn Michaels tried to ruin his career by holding him back. This is a detail that often gets glossed over in nostalgia-heavy retrospectives of the era. The 90s were also a time when HHH and his running buddy Shawn Michaels made life hard on The Rock. Rumors say that they saw him as a threat and undermined him on several occasions behind the scenes. Now, despite the backstage politics, what played out on screen was gold. While The Rock refused to ever face Shawn Michaels, HBK's back injury eventually took him out of WWE, but Triple H was still there, so the great one in the game had no choice but to work together. Their feud began in the mid-card for the Intercontinental Championship, then with a rivalry between DX and the Nation of Domination, but in 1999 and 2000 they were the two biggest stars in WWE. Their latter match at SummerSlam 1998 is still considered one of the best in the promotion's history. The Rock had climbed to the top of the WWE mountain already, but Triple H was gaining on him quickly. When Steve Austin went down with an injury, it was Rock and Triple H who carried the entire company on their shoulders. The Rock and Triple H carried the Attitude Era during Steve Austin's hiatus. Night after night, pay-per-view after pay-per-view, these two headlined main events. They exchanged the WWE Championship between them. They had Iron Man matches, street fights, ladder matches, you name it, and their chemistry was undeniable. But here's the thing about their rivalry. It never felt equal in terms of who came out on top. The Rock became the people's champion, literally and figuratively. He transcended wrestling and became a global star. Triple H stayed in WWE. He married Stephanie McMahon. He moved into management. He started running NXT. Triple H went on to take charge of NXT before becoming WWE's creative lead. And when Vince McMahon was forced out due to scandal, it was Triple H who stepped up. Triple H never left WWE. When he couldn't wrestle any longer, he was running NXT. And when a scandal forced out Vince McMahon, he stepped up to run WWE's creative direction. Triple H is credited with turning the company around after a disastrous few years under Vince. The Rock went the other direction entirely. In the 2000s, The Rock and Triple H went their separate ways. The former left WWE behind, coming back every few years, but acting was his priority by far. He became one of the highest-grossing actors in Hollywood. He built 7 Bucks Productions, launched Terramana Tequila, co-owned the XFL, and accumulated a business portfolio that rivals most entertainment moguls. So by 2024, you had two men who had walked entirely different paths from the same starting point. And those paths were about to collide again in a way that nobody saw coming. Not in a wrestling ring, but inside a boardroom. But the tension between the two had been simmering for years, and some people close to the situation say it never went away. Rumors say that they saw him as a threat and undermined him on several occasions behind the scenes. It's entirely possible that this is something that Johnson has never forgotten or forgiven, no matter how many hearts and flowers he throws their way today. And that lingering resentment, that is the foundation of everything that followed. Everything from Wrestlemania XL to the disaster at Wrestlemania 41. All of it can be traced back to two men who came up together, competed against each other, and never fully let it go. In January 2024, everything changed. Dwayne Johnson, the actor, former WWE star and most followed American man on social media platforms in the world, was appointed to the board of directors of TKO Group, the publicly traded company consisting of the UFC and WWE. This was not just a ceremonial title. In addition to his appointment, Johnson has been granted full ownership of the Rock trademark, which had been owned by WWE, and Johnson has signed a new services and merchandising agreement with WWE that provides for his promotional, licensing, and other services. Let's pause on this because it is significant. Per an SEC filing, TKO will award Johnson a stock award valued at $30 million in connection with the agreement, vesting over time. That initial $30 million stock award was just the beginning. It's been nearly 1 year since Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson became an official member of TKO's board of directors, and he has acquired a significant amount of shares in stock. The filing sent to the United States Securities and Exchange Commission states that Johnson has acquired a total of 96,557 shares, taking his total amount up from 193,166 to 289,673, with the value of stock in TKO closing out at $142.40 per share. The amount of shares Johnson has acquired are worth 13,249 and his total amount of shares in TKO are worth 41,249,435.20. And according to reports, the total compensation has been even larger. The Rock's $80 million compensation package raises questions about his role within the merged WWE UFC entity. The controversy centers on The Rock's notably silent social media presence regarding WWE. Despite earning over $80 million as a TKO board director over the past 2 years, according to Wrestling Observer. That figure doesn't include merchandise earnings, WrestleMania pay, or live appearance fees. Now, the reason this board position matters so much is because of what it gives The Rock. It gives him a seat at the table where creative decisions are discussed. It gives him leverage. And it gives him a level of authority that no other wrestler has ever had in the company. Not even Hulk Hogan, not even John Cena. With his status, and him now being a part of the TKO board, you couldn't just tell The Rock no. Meanwhile, Triple H is the chief content officer. He runs creative, he books the matches, develops the storylines, and manages the roster. But The Rock, as a board member with a massive financial stake and a direct line to TKO CEO Ari Emanuel, exists on a level that could theoretically override Triple H's decisions if corporate politics swung that way. And then, almost immediately after joining the board, The Rock decided he wanted to wrestle at Wrestlemania XL. Specifically, he wanted to face his cousin, Roman Reigns. Fans have long hoped for a dream match between cousins Roman Reigns and The Rock. The Great One acknowledged that it almost happened at WrestleMania, but in a tone-deaf move, he decided at the last minute that WrestleMania 40 would be the time for it. There was one problem. Triple H had already set the table for someone else. After Johnson cleared his Hollywood obligations to build to a match with Reigns, Triple H booked Cody Rhodes to win the Men's Royal Rumble match and continue his storyline from the previous year with Reigns in a rematch at WrestleMania 40. WWE suddenly faced a dilemma. Who would face Reigns, Rhodes or Rock? This is where it starts getting messy. The answer came shortly after Rhodes' Rumble win, as he cut a promo, bowing out to let Rock step in. Fans erupted in excitement as Reigns and Johnson came face to face. But as Rhodes exited the scene, WWE's TV cameras captured him walking away with a sullen expression. Soon fans rallied behind him on social media, prompting WWE to shift plans, moving from Reigns versus The Rock to Reigns versus Rhodes. The fan backlash was massive. Everything Triple H built was being destroyed. But thankfully, fans rebelled so loudly that WWE rebooked Rhodes versus Reigns. The WrestleMania XL storyline had to be restructured. Cody Rhodes got his WrestleMania main event back. The Rock was moved to Night 1 in a tag team match alongside Roman Reigns against Rhodes and Seth Rollins. And on Night 2, Rhodes defeated Reigns and became champion. But the damage had been done. The perception was clear. The Rock had used his corporate position to bulldoze over the creative plan that Triple H had spent a year building. At the WrestleMania XL kickoff press conference in February 2024, things escalated. It all started at the WrestleMania XL kickoff press conference on February 8, 2024, when The Rock slapped Cody Rhodes after the American Nightmare brought Roman Reigns' grandfather and the Great One's grandfather into the mix during an intense face-off. Later, the Hollywood megastar confronted WWE Chief Content Officer Triple H backstage during an interview. This confrontation was not in the script. WWE host Jackie Redmond talked about her experience backstage at the WrestleMania XL kickoff press conference and her interview with Triple H, during which The Rock cursed the game. Redmond claimed that she had no idea that the final boss would intervene and start dropping F-bombs on Triple H. After the conclusion of the press event, Triple H was being interviewed backstage when The Rock and Roman Reigns, walking together with Paul Heyman, stopped and stared at him. The Rock threatened Triple H to handle the disrespect that Cody made. During the WrestleMania XL press conference, we saw the tension between Hunter and Dwayne escalating as he was trying to override his orders. Now, WWE presented this as kayfabe, part of the storyline. But people who were there, people who know how these things work, pointed to it as evidence that the tension was real. The Rock wasn't playing a character when he interrupted Triple H's interview. He was making a statement about who held the power. Wrestlemania XL happened over 2 nights in Philadelphia. On night 1, The Rock and Roman Reigns defeated Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. The Hollywood megastar whipped Rhodes with his belt. He then proceeded to hit the American Nightmare with a rock bottom, followed by the People's Elbow, bringing the match to a close. On night 2, Rhodes defeated Reigns to win the undisputed WWE Championship. After the match, he celebrated his victory in the ring with Levesque. And then came the Raw after WrestleMania. Levesque hosted an in-ring celebration for the new champion. Then, as Rhodes was left alone to address the crowd, he was confronted by Johnson. After eyeing Rhodes' title, Johnson, who was heading off to film a movie, left on an ominous note. The Rock teased a continued storyline with Cody, saying their story had just begun. But then he disappeared. Little did fans know that their story was coming to an end. The next time fans saw Johnson in character was in October 2024 at the end of Bad Blood. Following a tag team match that featured Reigns and Rhodes as partners, Johnson emerged, making a menacing gesture before stalking off. Then he showed up again at the first Netflix Raw in January 2025. The Rock had bizarre appearances at Bad Blood in the first Netflix Raw. The pattern was becoming clear. The Rock would drop in, generate a moment, then vanish. No follow-through, no sustained storyline commitment. And behind the scenes, there were whispers that the reason was simple. He and Triple H could not agree on what the storylines should look like. By February 2025, The Rock made another appearance, making a shocking return to WWE on the 21st February episode of SmackDown. The Rock announced the location and date of next year's WrestleMania 42. During this appearance, he did something interesting. At the post-show press conference, The Rock commented on his confusing SmackDown segment with Cody Rhodes. Asking for Rhodes' soul, Johnson teased a future rivalry against the American Nightmare. But in his comments, The Rock also made it clear he was operating on his own terms. He said, "What I really love about this rare airspace that we've gotten to with the character of the final boss, it's like this white whale unicorn. With the final boss and Cody Rhodes, it's not about the WWE title. It's not about having a match. It never has to culminate to a match. That's a really special place to be creatively." That statement was telling. The Rock was essentially saying he didn't need to follow the traditional rules of wrestling storytelling. He didn't need to have a match. He could exist above the normal structures that Triple H was building for everyone else. And if you're Triple H, the man responsible for making all those structures work, that had to be frustrating. Then came WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas, and this is where everything blew up. WrestleMania 41 ended with a whimper, as John Cena captured a record 17th world title in the main event, defeating Cody Rhodes. However, the match was met with harsh criticism. Fans and pundits alike panned the bout, especially frustrated by the absence of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who had played a key role in Cena's heel turn leading up to the match. To understand why this mattered, you need to know what had happened at Elimination Chamber 2025. When The Rock returned earlier this year and helped John Cena turn heel, something fans had waited years to see, the internet exploded. It happened at Elimination Chamber 2025, when Cena shockingly betrayed Cody Rhodes, siding with The Rock and even rapper Travis Scott in a moment nobody saw coming. The Rock was the one who orchestrated the heel turn. He was the mastermind. It was his involvement that made Cena turning on Rhodes feel massive and significant. So when WrestleMania 41 arrived, the expectation was that The Rock would be there to close out the story he had started. He was not there. During WrestleMania weekend, Johnson was radio silent on social media. His last post before WWE's grand event indicated that he was in Maui. Then The Rock disappeared again. No follow-up, no promo, no presence. Instead of The Rock, fans got Travis Scott at ringside. It was rapper Travis Scott who emerged. Scott has been a part of The Rock's entourage in WWE, and he even legitimately laid a real shot that injured Cody at Elimination Chamber. This upset not only the fans on hand, but it ruined what was otherwise a great event for the viewers at home. The internet was furious. The internet backlash was almost immediate. As most online said, they felt the confusing finish tainted WrestleMania 41 as a whole. The harsh reality is the company let down its fan base at a time when they have come to expect excellence. Then, days later, The Rock went on the Pat McAfee show. And this is where, in the eyes of many, he exposed Triple H. The Rock told Pat McAfee he would have booked the WrestleMania 41 main event differently. He offered a measured critique. The Rock explained his absence by saying, "I made the call. I don't want to be involved in that. Let the final boss step back into the shadows. Let all the spotlight go to John and Cody." Johnson felt he had done his part in setting up Cena's heel turn and decided it was best not to factor into the match's finish. But then he went further. Johnson said, "They know when I come to them." And them, meaning Triple H and Nick Khan and Ari as well. And I lay this out and I say, "Hey, here's how I really feel it should go." He was putting it on the record that he had told them how the WrestleMania main event should have gone. He was distancing himself from the final product, the product that Triple H booked. The reaction from the wrestling media was immediate. Dave LaGreca of Busted Open Radio unloaded on The Rock. The Rock's comments prompted a long rant from LaGreca, who claimed that The Rock threw WWE Chief Content Officer Triple H under the bus. He said, "Now that everybody is beaching and moaning about the end of WrestleMania 41, The Rock is going to go on Pat McAfee, who has the biggest show in sports talk radio. You're going to go on his show and say, 'Yeah, I would have done it differently. Yeah, I would have adjusted some things.'" LaGreca went even harder. "Didn't make yourself available, didn't show up at WrestleMania, but now I'm going to say, yeah, I would have done things differently. You talk about completely throwing Triple H under the bus. That's exactly what The Rock did." And The Rock's response? When called out by LaGreca, The Rock delivered a petty response that took a shot at pro wrestling as a whole, highlighting how everything is a complete work. So there is no reason for fans to get angry. He responded on Instagram, dismissing the criticism by calling the business a complete work. That response did not sit well with fans or media. That added to the swirling conspiracy theories that he and Triple H butted heads over the story and the movie star's involvement. Former WWE personality Jonathan Coachman then went public with his assessment. "We're not that stupid. There is something going on behind the scenes," said Coachman. "This is where we get to the real meat of the story. Is there a genuine power struggle between The Rock and Triple H? And is that the real reason The Rock won't come back to WWE?" Jonathan Coachman did not mince words. Coachman, who worked with WWE from 1999-2018, made striking claims about the relationship between Rock and Triple H. He stated, "You have to understand I was in the room several times and know firsthand the real relationship between Rock and HHH. They don't get along, period." He continued, "If they did, Rock would have supported this year all along the way. He hasn't, not one social media post." Coachman questioned on Twitter X, "Do you know a lot of talents who make over 80 million and don't send any supportive tweets or videos towards the company during that time? The only social media posts have been directly towards Cena." And Coachman went even further with his predictions about what The Rock might do. Coachman said, "I think because of all the brands he has built, he can be ruthless. It's Rock first, his company first, and then everybody else second. He won't blink an eye at steamrolling Triple H straight out of the building. If it means they can lead that way." Coachman concluded with an ominous assessment. The struggle for power is real. Now, on the other side of this, there is also the reality of The Rock's schedule. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is fully booked through 2026. That's not wrestling hype, it's cold, hard calendar reality. The A24 project is just the latest in a long list of commitments, keeping The Rock out of the WWE picture. He's already deep into filming The Smashing Machine, a raw and emotional sports drama directed by Benny Safdie. The film tells the real-life story of MMA legend Mark Kerr. When stacking that up next to his ongoing commitments to Jumanji 4, the live-action Moana remake, and rumored future Marvel or DC ventures, it's easy to see why the squared circle just isn't in the cards. Johnson's packed schedule outside wrestling plays a major role in the uncertainty. Since stepping away from the ring, he's been tied up with major film productions that require heavy training and long shooting blocks. Recent reports say he wrapped one project late last year and is preparing for more throughout 2026. With that workload, it's tough to set an exact timetable for a wrestling return. So is the real reason The Rock won't come back because of Triple H? Or is it simply because he's too busy? The truth is probably both. As much as WWE tried to mask the very real conflict between The Rock and Triple H in the past few years, it's pretty evident there are still some issues there. The Hollywood schedule is real. The movies are real. But it's also true that when The Rock wants to be somewhere, he finds a way to be there. He found time for the Royal Rumble in 2024. He found time for Wrestlemania XL. He found time for the Netflix Raw debut. He found time for Elimination Chamber 2025. He did not find time for WrestleMania 41, the one event where his absence would be most conspicuous. The event where the storyline he started needed him the most. While The Rock's return to the WWE fold has been entertaining at times, it's also been a little confusing. His involvement or lack thereof with WrestleMania 41 led many to believe he purposely tanked the show, due to not getting everything he wanted in the end. Cody Rhodes himself seemed to acknowledge the political reality. When he went on the Part of My Take podcast, Rhodes said, "So Triple H runs the show, I'm his guy. I don't want to blow that, I might have just blown it. That told you everything you needed to know about the internal dynamics. There are sides, and you have to pick one. As for what happens next, WWE seems open to pacing things out rather than rushing them. If Johnson does return to the ring, the most realistic window is shaping up to be late 2026 or early 2027. Events like WrestleMania 44 or another large stadium show could give his comeback the scale it deserves. WWE reportedly wants enough time to craft a story that builds real anticipation instead of dropping him into a match without context. According to recent reports, WWE is fully aware that a Rock return might not happen until 2027, and they're okay with it. Sources suggest that WWE is keeping the door wide open, ready to pivot storylines if and when Johnson's schedule opens up. There is also the Saudi Arabia factor. As a TKO board member, his participation would carry significant weight for WWE's global strategy, particularly as the company prepares for the 2026 Royal Rumble in Riyadh. With WrestleMania 43 officially confirmed as part of the 2027 Riyadh season, the potential for a final boss return on the international stage remains the most discussed topic in the industry. When recently asked about his involvement with WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia, The Rock was careful but notably optimistic. While Johnson stopped short of an official match confirmation, his comments regarding ongoing negotiations were notably optimistic. He said, "I'm excited for the brand of WrestleMania. I'm excited for the Kingdom because that is a big show. In terms of the conversations I've been having, it's all good. It will always be good." One of the biggest rumors currently making the rounds is The Rock serving as a special guest referee for a Punk vs. Reigns main event. This move would be a masterstroke for Triple H and the creative team. It allows The Rock to be a centerpiece of the WrestleMania build, without requiring him to work a grueling 20-minute singles match. But even with Saudi money on the table and WrestleMania on the line, the fundamental question remains, can The Rock and Triple H coexist long enough to make it work? As much as WWE tried to mask the very real conflict between The Rock and Triple H in the past few years, it's pretty evident there are still some issues there. For the fans to fully trust the booking of the show, there has to be a united front when it comes to storylines and production. Will The Rock and Brian Gewirtz take control of WWE away from Triple H? That is the question that hangs over the entire company. The Rock has the corporate position, the financial stake, and the star power. Triple H has the day-to-day control, the creative vision, and the loyalty of the current roster. Something has to give. Johnson's star power is strongest when he appears sparingly. A handful of meaningful segments spread over time can create more momentum than forcing a full match before the story is ready. That may be the compromise that gets them through. Short appearances, segments that don't require weeks of commitment, a WrestleMania that uses The Rock as a special attraction without giving him veto power over the main event. But if history has taught us anything, it's that The Rock and Triple H don't do compromise well. They never have. From the locker rooms of the late 1990s to the boardrooms of 2025 and beyond, these two have always been in competition. The arena has changed. The stakes are different. But the rivalry, that has never stopped. And until someone blinks, until either The Rock accepts Triple H's creative authority or Triple H concedes enough control to keep The Rock engaged, we are stuck in this loop. The final boss disappears when things don't go his way, and WWE is left trying to explain why their biggest star keeps walking away. That is the real story here, not whether The Rock will come back. He probably will at some point. The Saudi deal alone makes that likely. The real story is whether these two men can put their decades-old rivalry aside, long enough to give fans what they deserve. A complete story told from beginning to end, with both men working together instead of against each other. Based on everything we've seen so far, that might be the biggest if in wrestling. And that's it for this one. If you found this interesting, leave a like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Do you think The Rock and Triple H will ever get on the same page? I'll see you in the next one.